football. It never gets old, let me tell you, because it's new kids every year, you know, and just never gets old. It's fantastic.
Again, your final 28-21, Rio Hondo Prep beats Mission Prep of San Luis Obispo for their program's 14th CIF football title in school history.
And lines, I had to keep on reaching up, cause it was my time to tear down the kingdom, call out the liars. Got a jail on my heart from the pessimist, got those nails in my mouth for impressionists. Spent too much money on a therapist, it couldn't fix me, I accepted it. Gladiator, 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 picked a fight with the gods, I'm the giant slayer, bone shaker. Every single day I feel that gold underneath. I see the locked doors, but I got the key. I'ma give you a second just to catch your breath, cause I can see that your heart is jumping out your chest. I know you gave it up, cause I've already seen your best, and it's time you accepted this. Gladiator, 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 picked a fight with the gods, I'm the giant slayer, bone shaker.
What is up, Rio Hondo football fans? Welcome to the semifinals of Division 9 as Rio Hondo Prep continues their stride for the school's 15th CIF Southern Section Championship. The intro there was from a few years ago, 11 to be exact, as Rio Hondo Prep won their last CIF championship way back in 2012. And that voice you heard was Ken Drain being interviewed, the former head coach of Rio Hondo Prep, who was the head coach for all four of Rio Hondo Prep's 11-man football championships, as well as the final 8-man championship back in 2001. I had the privilege to be on that team, and maybe Coach and I will talk a little bit today about that game, as Mr. Ken Drain is our guest today. Rather fitting, I thought, for the semifinals to bring on the man and the legend. No myth at all. The man and the legend, someone that has been there for so many of us, and coached us up over the years, and no longer coaches at the high school level, but still observes. And both of his sons are coaches on the staff. Dave Drain, of course, working with the offensive line, and Ed Drain doing a lot of the special team stuff, and I think some defensive things as well. So the Drain coaching legacy continues, but we're going to hear from Coach Drain today and talk to him about Rio football, man, and just what it has been like to see the program develop over the years. I believe he was one of the first classes in Rio Hondo Prep as a player back in the 60s. So he'll be able to tell us a lot about the history of the program, what it was like coaching as an assistant, and then, of course, as the head coach, and just kind of, he's seen the evolution, if you will, of the Rio Hondo Prep program over the years. Again, from the 6-man days to the 8-man days, and now to the 11-man days. So for those of you who never had the privilege to play for Coach Drain, man, I got to tell you, you're missing out, although you're in great hands now with the head coach, Mark Carson, and the other great coaches on the staff. But I think a lot of people, former players of Coach Drain, if you bring up Mr. Drain's name, I think you can't help but smile and have some fun memories, maybe some times getting yelled at a time or two, but also the encouragement and the positive coaching and just pushing of us over the years that we still carry with us. Honestly, I miss playing for the man. When I'm having a tough time or I fail throughout my day, I think of him sometimes and think, man, I let Coach Drain down if he was on the sidelines barking at me or something. So just really looking forward to talking with Mr. Drain today for the pregame show. And we will talk maybe at the end of the podcast about the opponent, Vista Del Lago, as Rio Hondo travels out there to Moreno Valley this Friday night for the Division 9 semifinals. Can't wait for the game. And this show might even come out a little early this week, as we're putting out content all throughout the week. And there might even be a second show. Who knows? If all goes well, if I can piece it all together and get different people scheduled and things like that. So special time. It's the semifinals. Things change a little, just as far as maybe a little more hype, maybe a little more attention, we'll say. We won't try to interfere at all with the Rio Hondo Prep preparation or anything, but it's just an exciting time. We want to soak all this in and give the fans plenty of content and the ability to really just get ready for this big game on Friday night, because Rio Hondo has not been in a semifinal since 2013, and unfortunately lost that game out in Los Angeles to Salesian in a close game for 3 quarters anyway, and then Salesian kind of pulled away on us. But that would have been a three-peat had we got to the finals and won that year, which would have been cool. But I guess the repeat we'll have to do in 2011 and 2012. Don't forget the 2008 championship and the 2005 championship there as well. So when people said Rio Hondo couldn't compete at the 8-man level, well, 4 titles in, what would that be, 7 years, was a really special time. Not to mention a couple times that we lost in the finals in that stretch as well, in 2004 and in 2009. So it's been a while since we've been at this stage, at this level of the playoffs, and just want to make sure that we soak it up and enjoy every bit of it. So a tough opponent, and indeed, just like we saw in the first round, just like we saw in the quarterfinals. But when the trip to the finals is on the line, you're going to get the best swing from the guy across the ring from you. And this is a very good football team. We are going up against the Vista Del Lago Ravens. Very good mix of running the ball, throwing the ball, very fast on defense and physical. So it's going to be a true test. And if Rio is able to punch that ticket to the finals, it is not going to come easy. It's going to be a challenge. And we're going to need every man, woman, and child there to get on your feet, make some noise, much like last week, and the boys to play their hearts out once again, to do something that Rio Hondo has never done, and that is go to the finals in a division this high. We're already in the semifinals, which is the highest we've ever been in a division this high, a single-digit division in Division 9, with there being 14 divisions out there. So a tremendous opportunity for our young man. And I just hope they play fast, they play loose, don't hold anything back. And again, we'll break down some of the stats, maybe things if we can, with Vista Del Lago here after my conversation with Mr. Kenra, which I'm very much looking forward to, and I know you guys are as well. The intro music there, Gladiator from Zed Wolf, I think. I thought it was fitting. Get these boys are going into the Coliseum, if you will, and we need them to be gladiators for us one more time. And then if they advance, we're going to ask it of them again. But they are warriors, they are our gladiators, and cannot wait for them to throw on that uniform, go out there, represent us, and for us all to cheer on them one more time. Just an exciting time, and what a great way to kind of get to the Thanksgiving time of year, if you will. So without any more breaks, let's bring him on the show, Mr. Kenra. You heard his voice there in the intro back in 2012. Now we're going to get to hear him for real in person as chat some Rio Hondo football, and just again, a privilege and an honor to sit down with Coach and chat with him. Here we go, Mr. Kenra. All right, as promised, we are now joined by Mr. Kenra, who led Rio Hondo Prep to 4 CIF Southern Section championships in 11-man, as well as that final 8-man championship back in 2001. Mr. Drain, I'm a little biased to that 2001 team for good reason, but some fun memories there. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing all right. Doing good. Everything's great.
How did West Virginia do yesterday? I know you were probably watching.
They got killed.
Oh man, I'm so sorry.
They scored. They were ahead 7-0, and then that was over.
I
think they lost. I think the Oklahoma quarterback had 8 touchdowns or something.
Oh, ouch. So
it wasn't pretty.
Oh man. Well, for those that don't know, and if you listen to this, you should know, Mr. Drain, a huge West Virginia Mountaineer fan. You were born out there, right, Mr. Drain?
Yes, I was. 1950.
Wow, 1950, and in a major way to California at some point, and eventually Boys Christian League and Rio Hondo Prep. Weren't you in one of the first classes at Rio Hondo Prep when the school opened?
I was in the very first class that school ever had. Wow. Yeah, in 1964. It was I can remember this class was at 7:30. It was a Latin class. Had a hard time staying awake. You have Latin at 7:30 in the morning.
Oh man, come on. We couldn't do something more lively or something. Oh, that's early.
You want to do a good story. I showed up. The school started on Thursday, but I didn't know that. I thought it was starting. I showed up on Monday morning for school, and they go, "What are you doing here?" I'm here for school. They sent me home.
That's hysterical. How many kids were in the school back then at the very beginning?
14.
For how many grades?
4. Went from
Wow.
seventh grade through 10th.
14
And there were 14
people.
kids.
Well, we've grown a little since then, Coach, but I think we have 66 boys in this school now, which is still unheard of compared to some of the schools we're playing.
Yeah, sure is. And that's a large number for us. That's the largest it's ever been.
Wow. Well, talk to me about football at Rio Hondo Prep, the very beginning, if you will, the 1960s, when this great tradition started.
Well, school started in 64, but we didn't play that year. So our first year was 65. And so we had freshmen, sophomores, and juniors that year. And we won a couple games, didn't do too well. We played a couple JV games that we dominated. That was good. So, and then the next year when we had seniors, we did a little bit better. Some of the people on that team, I don't know if people remember these names, but we had Larry Estes was on that team, Greg Shire, who I met recently at Cal Baptist out in Laverne. He worked at that school. And if you want to know, he was the fastest guy that's ever been at Rio Hondo Prep.
Wow, that's really saying something.
He ran a 10 flat 100-yard dash.
Wow.
And his big claim to fame was he could outrun any woman on the planet. And he was right.
Really?
The world record for women that year was, back then was like 10.5 or something. That's when they actually did 100-yard dashes instead of 100 meters. But anyway,
wow.
So he was the fastest guy we've ever had. And then the next year when I was a senior, my best friend, Armin Maskamp, his father wouldn't let him come to school. Finally let him come, and he was a junior. And he was really good, and we had a really good team that year. And we won. We were 10-0 or 9-0. I don't know how many games we played, but we didn't lose any games during the season. In fact, all but one, we skunked the other team, or we were 45 points ahead in the second half, and the game ended early.
Wow.
So then we lost to Black Fox in playoffs. And anyway, that was a very sad moment because we should have won a championship. I think we had a guy, one of our better guys, get hurt. And when you only have like 7 or 8 guys, and you're missing one of them, that's kind of a problem. So anyway, it was good. And then of course we just had the 50-year anniversary for the 73 team. That was a really good event, by the way. And I think all those guys had a great time. And in 70, after 73 and 74, we went to 8-man football from 6, and then Mr. Johnson took over doing the 8-man, and he did a fantastic job. And all the championships we won, I think he won 8 or something like that. I'm pretty sure championships, along with a couple girls basketball championships. Unbelievable career he had,
man.
And so he was really good. And in fact, when he retired, and he was kind of forced to retire because of his Alzheimer's, and that was pretty sad for me anyway. When he retired, they named an award after him in 8-man football. One of the things they give out at the end of the year, I think it still is the Randall Johnson Award. So because he did a lot, not just for us, but he did a lot for 8-man football in general. He was the president for a long time of the 8-man association and did a lot for the CIF. And so he was put into the Hall of Fame at CIF.
Man.
And that was a great time because, he couldn't, when they did that, he couldn't really talk anymore. So I got to speak for him down at CIF at the luncheon. And that was a good time. And
special man.
special man. I told him, I said, when I started playing youth football, I didn't win a game for 2 years, but then Mr. Johnson became my coach, and I can count on one hand the number of times we lost in football after that.
Wow.
So and he coached me for 2 or 3 years. So when I was a kid, so that was he was a fantastic coach, and
That
so
is
I was
awesome.
kind of forced to take over for him in 2001. I don't know what I was doing when I took over. Before that, I think I was just a guy that did conditioning.
Yes.
That was my big job, I think, was conditioning. I wasn't even an offensive coach or defensive coach. I just did conditioning. And so, but Mr. Ostergaard wanted me to coach the team. So I said, okay, I'll try. And first year coaching, we had that was our last man of 8 man, and we had that overtime win against Joshua Springs.
Yep.
That was a good time. You were on that team. You scored the winning touchdown.
Yes, sir. You called the quarterback
Yeah.
sneak. You trusted me on that final play. I don't know what you were thinking.
Yeah, that was a good team. That was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good players. We were down to our third or fourth string tailback in that game.
Yeah, we had to bring up some freshman kid named Landon Goodwell who hadn't played
Yeah,
varsity all season.
I don't know what we were thinking.
Hey, you're gonna play middle linebacker too.
Thing he was there because he was one of the few guys that could tackle there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Colin Woodbury.
We had a hard time
goodness.
tackling that big running back.
I
Good
will
thing
say,
Landon was there, huh?
oh man, yeah.
So
He went on
anyway,
to play D1. I will tell you, Mr. Dre, I mean, being a part of that game in 01 was so much fun, obviously with the win. I've heard the legendary stories of 77, of course, and the comparisons to the two games. I mean, there have been other championships in 11 man at Rio, but when you talk about an overtime game back in 01, I mean, especially your first year as a head coach, you got us in the 8-man championship. We walk it off and upset a previously undefeated team. That had to be a real thrill. And that was, I will say it, that was one of the greatest games in RHP Carefield history, I think.
yeah, it was great. Yeah, I remember I was the announcer at the 77 game.
Oh, really?
and we went to overtime, and I had no idea how the overtime even worked. So, but I was a good friend of the head referee that year. I'm trying to think of his name. He used to teach over to Royal High School, but I knew him pretty well. I actually ref some games with him when we had Frosh games on Thursday nights, and I would ref with him, and he'd always come. He loved coming down to Care. I don't know why, but he was a great guy. But so he helped me out big time during that overtime because I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
These people in the stands were asking me because we announced from behind the visitor stands. And they're all turning around asking me, how's this work? I go, I don't know. I'll find out. We've never had this before. So anyway, that was fun. So that was my big contribution to real football. I was the announcer for a long time. Did that for maybe 15 or 20 years. So anyway, so that was good. Yeah, 2001 game was fantastic. That was what an introduction into coaching, being a head coach.
Yeah, all those tough decisions, and I don't know how we beat those guys, but we beat them. And I want to talk. You touched on it briefly there, going from 6-man to 8-man, and that was probably a pretty big jump. Well, you were the head coach that took us from 8-man to 11-man after just that first season. Try to explain to people what that transition was like, because I know there was a lot of talk about, man, do we really need to go to 11-man? Like some people didn't want to do it. A lot of us did. And we were fortunate to do it our senior year, but as a head coach, quite a challenge. I don't know. Talk to me about that transition.
Yeah, well, we played a few 11-man games when we were doing 8-man, just to see what it was like and get a feel for it. I have to tell you, I was for it, and the only reason I was for going to 11-man is because 8-man just seemed to be getting more and more watered down all the time. And when you play almost all your games and you never play a full game, it's just not fun. You want to play. When you play football, you want to play football. You don't want to just play a half a game and then go home. I remember going to Lone Pine one year, and it was their homecoming.
Yeah. that might have been 01.
and the game was over at halftime. And I remember Mr. Parker went over to buy pizza like during the first quarter, and he says, I want it in about a half an hour. And he says, well, the game just started. He says, I still want it in a half an hour. And he was right.
Hey, we made good times getting home.
And I remember the announcer saying, welcome to halftime. And he goes, well, maybe it's the end of the game. Huh?
Yeah.
And he didn't know what to say either. So it was kind of a sad thing. But, you want a challenge, and you want the kids to be challenged. And we thought 11-man was the best way to do that, even though we knew we were going to struggle with numbers for a while, and that was going to be a problem. But we did it, and worked out really good. I think you guys had a great year, didn't you? You had fun, and
yeah,
we had a few injuries there. Maybe you would have been back if we had won that first game, and maybe Devin would have been. I know Devin would have been back if we'd have won that first game, and he was
we're the walking wounded or limping wounded. I mean, I was in a boot all week, and I tried to give it a go. We got some plays in there, but I wasn't 100. And Devin, of course, the first game of the year, he breaks his shooting hand of all things for basketball, and then, oh my, it's just hey, but we made it. I mean, we beat the champions, Pasadena Poly, in league play. We lost to the eventual runners up in the playoffs, Grace Brethren. And I thought that first year of 11-man, the way I look at it, Mr. Drain, is like, okay, we gave everyone hope in a sense, like, hey, we can compete at this level, because we went, I think, 9-2 or 8-2 or something overall, and it was like, hey, we can do this.
Yeah, and it was good. It was a good challenge for us. It was a good challenge for the kids. I think that it took us 3 years to win our first championship. And I have to be honest with you, when I took over, I wasn't a big football guy. I was a basketball coach. Yeah. And so, but I coached with Mr. Johnson for so long and watched him. And so my thing was, I'm just going to do what I saw him do. We'll do the same thing on offense. We still had Mr. Lunny there doing the defense, and he was there for a few years until he couldn't do it anymore. And Mr. Oric was still there doing the line. So everything except for me was basically the same. So we just stuck with what we knew. And then we went to 11-man, and we still stuck with what we knew. And it worked for a while. We could tell that we needed to do something
different.
And so then we, in 2004 is when we brought Joe Parker into the picture to coach the offense, be the offensive coordinator. And basically he told me, well, if I do this, I'm going to do what Randy tells me to do, because he's so he did. And Randy has talked to Joe and told him what he thought we should do and so forth. And so that's what we did at the beginning. And it was a complete change. I mean, we just went completely away from everything we knew about 8-man and started this new offense. And it was good. But for us, it wasn't necessarily just the right answer, because, we were small, except for Landon. We were small, and especially up front. And when you're trying to run a stretch offense, stretch plays, and you're matching up one-on-one with guys to block, that's a tough job for a lineman. Mm-hmm. And then, but we won the next year, and that was that first championship. And that was kind of a miracle, because their best player got hurt in warmups and he had to go to the hospital, and he played offense and defense, and he was really good. And he came back at halftime, but by then it was 10-3 or something. I don't know what the score was.
10-7 was the final.
It was 10-7, maybe. That was the final, I know. But we scored all our 10 points when he wasn't there.
That's funny.
And for whatever reason, they just passed the whole second, maybe because they were behind, and we had 5 interceptions. I mean, their quarterback wasn't that good. Their one score, I remember, they just gave it to their good player right up the middle and ran for a touchdown, like 40 yards. But they never gave it to him again, so it was okay with us.
For sure. My brother was on that team, 05, coming in after the 2004 team made it to the finals and finished as runners up. And it was like, man, yes, Rio Hondo, that first championship in 11-man in 05 with the upset, there. And I don't know, that was the first of 4 championships at the 11-man level, Mr. Drain, which you were the head coach for. So, you know what? You didn't consider yourself a football guy, but I think you did okay leading Rio Hondo all those years.
Yeah, well, we struggled in 06 and 07 a little bit. And then we got Randy and Mark in, Randy for the offense, Mark for defense. And, we kind of talked about it a little bit. And Randy and I kind of both agreed that we needed to get some of those old 8-man plays back into the picture, and just use some of the new stuff and mix it in with the old stuff. And we did, and it worked great. And Randy was a master at doing all this stuff and putting it together because I couldn't have done it. He had to do it. And Mark was really good on defense. He had a plan. He had a passion to do it. He just loved coaching football. So, so from 2008 to 2012, I mean, we were really good and under those guys. And I give them all the credit. I was the guy that talked to the press and talked to people and so forth, but they did all the work, and they were really good at what they did. And then after our last win in 2012, we won the championship that year. We won basketball that year too. We won 2 sports in the same year, so that was good. Yeah. But that's when they went to the competitive equity thing in 2013. And we struggled with that because we're playing schools with 3,000 or 4,000 kids. They come to the game with 65 people on their roster, and have an offense and a defense, and we really struggled with that. It was really hard for us. I mean, we might win a game here or there, but to win 4 in a row was virtually impossible because you just get beat up.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was, when did we play Orange? Was that 2016 or something?
It was like 16. Were you still the head coach? So it must have been 16.
I think I was still the head coach. It might have been my last year.
Yeah, I think it was 16.
But we had 5 concussions in that game when we played them last time.
Wow.
And we were in the game. I mean, we had a chance to go ahead in the second half, but we fumbled the ball on like the 2-yard line, and they got it, and then it was all over after that. But we had 5 guys sitting on the bench that couldn't play from concussions. So.
It's just different, and it's so. And what's interesting, and so much of what you're saying, the theme of it all really is Rio Hondo over the years has just. There's been some. You've had to adapt to the changes in going to different levels, and then of course some of the changes we don't have control over. Where CIF puts us and things. But then kind of finding the right pieces to fit too, like Randy Johnson obviously had some great ideas and has blended some of the old styles and the new styles. And then Marks does a heck of a job on defense. So it seems like Rio Hondo, sometimes it takes a little time, but man, once they get things right, there's the sky's the limit. And kind of, that's what we're seeing with this team in 2023.
Yeah. Yeah. This team is amazing, to be honest with you. I watch them all. I go to every game, and they just amaze me every time I watch them play. Because we had that really bad game against Brentwood, and I could tell from the very beginning that we weren't ourselves in that game because we did things that we hadn't fumbled all year, and we fumbled our first possession. And I could tell we were a little uptight, and it showed. But since that game, I mean, the 2 playoff games were just masterful performances. I mean, it was well coached, and the players just executed perfectly. A few things here and there, especially on like that first game. They were a good passing team, and we struggled a little bit on those long passes. Keep yelling at those corners to turn their heads around. Got to find the ball sometime. Just can't keep running. But we struggled. But we did what we had to do to win the game. We dominated the ball. Because they scored every time they got it, except for once. They scored in under 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so they were going to score every time they got it. So what you do, you don't let them get it. And that's what we did. And that's how we won. That, and I think some little bit of poor coaching on their part, but I'm not going to get into all that. But anyway, so, and then this last game was incredible because that was completely different style. The first game was they were passing, second game they were running team, But we adjusted to that and gave up a few touchdowns in the first half. But after that, we shut them down. And the kids just played with incredible passion out there. I don't know if you saw the tape, but because you couldn't really see it from our sideline, but that fumble recovery we had,
Yeah.
I saw it on the tape. That was an incredible play. Did you see the tape?
Yeah, barely jumping and staying in bounds, and yeah.
Yeah, the guy's jumping. The ball's rolling out of bounds, and he has to jump over the guy. I think it was Tafflinger jumps over the guy between him and the ball, and reaches out and grabs the ball, pulls it back in, and I think Calogero fell on it. But that was just an incredible play. That ball was going out of bounds, and they would have kept possession. But what a play that was!
Yeah, a total hustle. I mean, you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with effort,
Yeah, I mean, but what a game! I mean, I don't know how we shut those guys out in the second half, but of course they contribute a lot to it, but penalties and that kind of thing. But that's discipline, and our guys weren't making penalties, and they were disciplined and doing what they were supposed to do.
It felt like they thought they could wear us down, with maybe their size up front, but I think ultimately we ended up wearing them down on defense and offense just by being relentless, really.
Yep, I think you're right. Conditioning pays off.
Yeah. And you always were a big part of that. You talked about being the conditioning coach forever. Mr. Drade, I think I speak for all alums here who played under you in football. There was no one on this planet whose voice echoed 100 yards away. When we do 100-yard sprints, no one could yell, "Go!" like you. I could still hear the voice and then in my nightmares on these 100-yard sprints. And you used to be drinking some ice cold Coke or something down there as well. These are the memories.
I'd always come out to practice on a hot day, especially in preseason before we started it. Hot day and pop the can so you could hear it.
It's gonna be a fun one today, boys. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was always fun.
Oh man, alive. Good stuff. Yeah, where were we with the conditioning? Yeah, we the conditioning program now. I mean, you can tell that our guys are going strong in the fourth quarter. And Mr. Drain, you have a connection to this team. You've been doing something the past few years, I think, where you do club meetings for these guys each and every week, and it usually falls on game day. What's that been like for you the past few years?
It's an honor for me to do it. I mean, I don't know why they have me do it, but it's a joy. And I always try to get in there. I don't want to do something to bring them down. I got to pump them up a little bit. So I always use things that I know from John Wooden and that kind of thing that try to inspire them a little bit to play hard and what it means to play together as a team. Those things are ultimately the most important things. And I don't know if I'm having any inspiration for them or not, but I'll tell you, these last two games, you couldn't find better team effort and working together as a team than what they've done. They've been incredible. And anyway, that's what I kind of do in club meetings. I run to win. And what did David do when he went out to fight Goliath? He ran to meet Goliath. He didn't just walk out there. He ran to be out there. And that's what you got to do if you want to be competitive. You got to be ready to run and meet the challenge, whatever it is. And so those kind of things. And I just, I get a joy out of it. I don't know if the guys are paying much attention to me. They go, who is this guy anyway? He's just coming in and talk to us on club meeting day. But anyway, it's fun for me. And Mark keeps bringing me back. So as long as he does, I'll keep doing it.
It's fun. And we all remember, you on the field with us, but I remember you in the locker room. And of course, a lot of different club meetings and messages, up at Bishop, of course, was always fun, hearing about run to win. Practice makes permanent. I mean, all of us remember all this stuff so vividly, and it's really cool that you're still doing it for the current guys, even though you're not coaching out there anymore. Retirement, of course, from that, which is very well deserved. What's it been like not coaching all these years?
Well, it's different, but I'll tell you, when I sit up in the stands and watch a game, I'm probably more nervous than I ever was when I was coaching. Coaching, you're doing something, you're getting into things, you're trying to figure things out. Up there, you're just going, what in the world are they doing out there? And you're scared to death. And, I get really nervous up in the stands. but it's a little better if I can get down the field and walk around a little bit. It's a little better when I'm down there. But during home games, I take care of the referees, and I always bring them snacks, and I want to get them happy so they, if they're gonna questionable call, it might go our way, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I give them drinks and snacks and stuff, and try to take care of them. And that's kind of my job. Mark appointed me to do that. So, and I'm willing to do whatever he wants to help out. And so,
what a perfect job for you, Mr. Drain. A perfect job for you being the referees, the court, the referee host, if you will. After, you used to help out the referees quite often from the sideline in both football and basketball, if I remember correctly.
Well, yeah, I always want to help. And some of those guys really need it, let me tell you.
Yeah.
That's but it's fun. When we play during the year, we get all the old referees from Moreno Valley. I know most of them, so it's always good to catch up with them. They always have pleasant things to say to me. I don't know why, but they always do. So it's kind of fun.
I remember we were at JVs, I think, and you coached. Mr. Loomis was our coach in basketball, and he was sick or something that day. It was the first time I played a football game. I played football on the basketball court. It's a basketball game. You were in our JV. You were coaching us in the JV. I was like, man, Mr. Drain's coaching us. I don't know if you remember this, but I was always getting into fights and stuff down under the basket. And the referee said something like, hey, back off or something. And like the first minute of the game, and you jumped up and you were like, don't tell him to back off. You tell her to back off. I was like, Mr. Drain's got my back. Let's go. I'm jacked up for this. So you were always a vocal guy, Coach. So kind and soft voice at times. But when you would yell, Mr. Drain, it would echo quite loudly, I'll say.
Maybe that's why I get in trouble so much with officials. I must have had something in my voice that I had to kind of calm it down. That's why Mr. Horton coached with me for a while to try to keep me from getting technicals.
That was his job. He was the shooter from Hoosiers. He had to keep you in the game, man. Is the name Shooter? Yeah. Dennis Hopper. Yeah, there you go.
That's his job. So
hey, Mr. Dan,
it was fun.
What
coaching basketball was the best.
Oh yeah. Basketball is it seemed like we do the 3-on-2. We do the drills in the gym. You'd go and you go, all right, when I'm back cleaning Hampton Hall, we'll switch drills or whatever. It's like you have us running forever. Oh man, such good times. Mr. Jan, you have 3 sons, 2 daughters. My buddy Devin was we were classmates, your oldest son. But there's Devin coaches in the junior high now. And then both of your other sons, Dave and Ed, are coaches on this current staff and do a heck of a job. What's it like watching your sons be a coach on the sideline after you did it for so long? And hey, do you ever like give them nudges or tell them, hey, why didn't you do this or that?
No, I try to stay away from that kind of thing. I don't ever tell Mark what he should do, or Randy, or any of my sons or anything, unless they ask me something. If they ask me something, I'll give them my opinion, but I don't want to interfere with what they're doing. They know more about it than I do. So, but it's good. It's good to see Dave and Ed out there. I go to Devin's games whenever I can. He plays usually on Saturday mornings, and like to watch him and Will with those junior high kids. That's always fun. But yeah, I love it. I love that. My kids are all doing well, and what more can you ask for? Your kids have be productive and give back, what they've been given, and so it's good. I really enjoy it. And Ed and Dave cool. Those guys are completely different in how their approach to the game and so forth. Ed's kind of more like me. He's kind of a yeller. Dave's more laid back and just talks to the kids, and he's really good at it. So they both do a really good job, though.
Yeah, it's great having Coach Drains, a couple of them on the sideline to kind of keep the tradition going. And yeah, Devin does a great job getting the kids ready for high school, him and Will, as you mentioned. And the football program, I mean, again, it's changed a little over the years, but I think the consistency of it, the core of it really has stayed the same. And one thing we always talk about here on the podcast is, why Rio Hondo football is special. And you've seen it for so many different decades, coached it, played it, been a part of it. Your kids are in it. I mean, if you could, Mr. Drain, what is it exactly that keeps Rio Hondo Prep Football special and kind of, I don't know, what is it? Is there a secret sauce, a secret ingredient, or is it just, I mean, I don't know, what makes it tick?
Well, number one, there's only been Mark is the fourth coach of Rio Hondo football in 50 whatever years it's been. You know, Mr. Dowd started it, did a great job with me and the guys and that 73 team. And by the way, I didn't see a lot of the 73 team until that particular year because that's when I was in the Army and I was in Vietnam and I missed a couple years there. So I didn't get to see those guys their whole time. But Mr. Dowd was the coach then, and then Mr. Johnson took over, did it for a long time, and he was the second coach. And then I came in, and then Mark took over from me. But, you know, we all coached together. You know, before I didn't just step in from nowhere. I coached with Mr. Johnson for probably 12 years or so. Plus, he coached me when I was little. And so you get that consistency of not only football knowledge, but you know, the bigger picture about what you're trying to help these kids become when they get older, you know, and it's the same philosophy, the same thing going out there. And then Mark coached with me, and sometimes I coached with him when he was doing JVs. You know, I'd go and coach baseball as assistant coach for him in baseball season. And, you know, and he came and was assistant under Mr. Loomis and myself for a little bit before he took over. But you know, you get the same philosophies that just carry out through 50 some years, you know, because we're all talking about the same thing. We all want the same thing. We want the best for the kids that we're coaching. And, you know, we'd do anything that we could to help them not only achieve their goals in sports, but in life. You know, coaches do incredible work with these kids, and it's not just football, it's everything. And I think that's one of the things that makes Rio Hondo special. You know, it's that consistency and philosophy from beginning until now. And I don't know how else to say it, but that's what it is, I think.
Yeah, I think it's very well said. And you talked about that 73 team and the celebration we had a few weeks ago. I thought it was really cool. And so many of those guys came from all over the country. And it was great seeing faces. And I'd heard, you know, a lot of these names. One thing that was really special was Mr. Dowd walked out there and raised the blue trophy. And I thought that was special. And you made a comment to him or something like, hey, congrats, you did it again, or something, you know, just raising that trophy, which you've done a few times, but to see Mr. Dowd do it, who was the first one to do it, I don't know, gave me chills.
Yeah, that was special. Mr. Dowd was a great guy. I mean, you go back and you hear Mr. Horton, in fact, in church this morning, Phil Horton was the speaker, and he was talking about the conditioning they did when they were for football with Mr. Dowd. They'd go up to camp and all the stuff they did and so forth and so on. It was funny and it was great. But Mr. Dowd was, I mean, he pushed you to your limits. There's no doubt about it. But it was good. You know, I think playing for Mr. Dowd was the first time and maybe the only time I've ever experienced. They say you got to get, you know, you run until you get your second win. That's the only time I've ever experienced that, running under him. And that was what a feeling that is. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling, but when you get your second wind, it's amazing. You feel like you can just run forever. But I got it under him, and because he pushed you.
So yeah, I think you tried to get us to find that second win quite often, but we never quite got there. But you know, we were gonna die trying, I guess. Just carrying that up. Keep running. Keep running.
When I played, we used to practice over where Sam's Club is over there, on the other side of Arroyo, over by Arroyo. We used to use that property over there. We had fields over there.
Wow. So
we would run over there for practice. Then we'd practice and we'd run back. That was our conditioning for that day. But that was always fun. And Mr. Dow was what a great guy, an incredible basketball coach too. In fact, he coached football, basketball, and baseball. He was the only coach in high school when we first started. And then his wife came in and she did all the girls stuff.
Wow.
And she was an incredible coach too. And she I think she won like 6 prep league basketball championships in a row or something.
Wow.
I mean, she was really good. So anyway,
Yeah.
so Mr. Dow was great. Mr. Johnson was fantastic, and they're completely different personalities, but but the philosophy is the same.
Mhm.
The desire to help kids is still the same. And I think that's what getting kids to play as a team is not an easy task. But I think it's what we've done at Rio Hondo. It's always our goal to get everybody to play together. And most schools can't do that. I mean, I think both those teams that we played were better than us so far in the playoffs, but those guys didn't play together like we did.
Yeah.
And when you can play for the guy on your left and the guy on your right instead of the guy that for yourself, you can get a lot of good things done. So
Well, I have a little theory here that kind of just came to mind. Veterans Day was yesterday. You talked about being in Vietnam yourself, and I believe Mr. Dowd. I mean, I was trying to run through all the people who served in the military. I think Mr. Johnson. I think Mr. Dowd was in the military, right? The Army, maybe.
Mr. Dowd was in the Army. He was he drove tanks in the Army.
See, we don't even know these things. That's unbelielievable. He drove tanks.
I don't think Mr. Johnson was ever in the Army. I think he had some physical problem that wouldn't allow him to go. Mr. Lunny was in the Army. He served in Vietnam before me, and he had a lot worse than I did. And he actually wrote a book about his experience there, and it got published.
It's a good book.
And Mr. Oric was in the Army for a while, and so yeah, a lot of people have served.
And so I look at that, especially with the in the football side of things, and I think when you have the older generation, kind of the foundation of Rio football, kind of around some leadership from some guys with kind of a military background almost. I think when you talk, just like you said, about getting people to play together and the guy on the left and the guy on the right, I don't know. I think there's something to it that the coaches throughout the years, I got to imagine, I mean, I'll ask you directly, your time in the military, did you think that kind of helped you as far as coaching later in life, maybe, I don't know, organization or just, I don't know, physical training of your teams and things?
It probably played a little bit, because conditioning, they do conditioning in the Army. They do, it's all about taking care of the guy beside you. And, and I was more than happy to help anybody I could in the Army, because some of those guys were, I don't know why they do what they do in the Army, but like you're out in the jungle and they bring beer and stuff out there for them and so forth. And I guess it makes them feel better, but it never made me feel better to watch them do that, because I wanted these guys to be as sharp as they could be when they're out there.
Yeah, I would think so, man. Well,
but you do become close with the guys in your group, and especially in Vietnam, everything was in a line. When you were out in the jungle, you're marching in a straight line. So especially the guy in front of you and the guy behind you get to know really well. So, and the guy behind, I was the last guy in line every time, whether it was we were in a platoon or a company. I was always the last guy in the line.
whoa.
And the guy got really close to the guy that was right in front of me. We used to have some really strange conversations walking through that jungle, but we just got close. And in fact, when I got my job as a clerk and I had a room of my own back at the camp, he went on R&R. He was supposed to go on R&R. I don't know where he was planning to go, but he just stayed in my room with me because he didn't want to go anywhere. So we spent a week together going over to the Air Force Base and playing basketball and whatever. So yeah, he was a great guy. His name was Worm. That wasn't his real name, but it's what everybody called it. Even his mother. I saw letters from his mother, "Dear Worm." I go, man, what a name!
Wow. Oh my goodness, what an experience!
But
And
it was fun, and it brings you together. I mean, you are dependent on every guy out there.
Yeah. No, it's just with Veterans Day and just kind of thinking about it, I was like, and a lot of leaders at CARE in Rio have served, and I think I don't know. It seems like with currently the graduates that Rio Hondo has put out now and in the past and in the future, a lot of people end up going into the military, police, fire, teachers, nurses. I don't know. I think Rio Hondo creates kind of that passion for serving others and kind of making a difference.
Yeah, you're right. And that's, that's biblical, you're here to serve others. And so we preach that all the time. And cause that's what it's all about. And if you do that, you live a better life. I think serving other people, what you're doing is incredible. And this podcast and serving the kids that play, serving the parents and all that you do there, that's a great thing. And I can tell it makes you happy because you're
Yeah.
serving other people. And that's what life's all about, serving others.
Man, it's yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no other way to put it really there. It's it's good for you to do that all throughout your life, really. And Mr. Jen, you mentioned the podcast. I know you're an avid listener. We've had a lot of different people on here. People from the past, people that maybe you hadn't heard of in a while. I mean, have you had some favorite guests, or is it fun kind of hearing from some of your former players?
They're all good. I don't know if I have a favorite. I like hearing them all. I like Dave Diaz. I just
That's
listened
great.
to him, I think that was last week. Dave Diaz was great. I'll tell you a story about Dave Diaz that I don't know. I haven't heard the whole thing, so I don't know if he talked about this or not, but we had a basketball playoff game. It was a league playoff game to get into the playoffs. And we played Flint Ridge over at Pauley. It was a neutral site. And Dave Diaz was on that team. And I think by the halfway through the third quarter, everybody on our starting team had fouled out except for Dave. But Dave had the game of his life. I have never seen a guy who could not miss anything, no matter what he did. He was falling out of bounds and just threw the ball at the basket and it went in. I mean, he single-handedly won that game for us. I mean, he was incredible. And
Wow.
it was just, but all those guys, everybody I hear, guys from the past, I love them all. And they're all good, Freddie or whoever it might be. They're all good. I saw a lot of alumni guys at the game last Friday. BJ was there, and I guess Ben. I'm not sure what he calls himself now, but it was BJ to me. So
Yeah, I remember.
BJ, and saw several other people there. And it's always good to see them. So sometimes I don't get to see people at home games because I'm kind of stuck over there because I got to be there for the refs in case they need something, and people don't come over and visit me. So anyways, I don't necessarily see a lot of people at the home games. I see Westavorty all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. Westavorty had the game of his life against Flint Ridge too in basketball. But
being
he
6'7" or whatever he is, man, he's a giant.
yeah, Flint Ridge had a really tall guy that was dominating everybody, but Westavorty stopped him, shut him down, and we won the game, and it was amazing. Anyway, all those guys, I just love them all, and it's always good to hear from them. So I can't pick a favorite, Matt. I'm sorry, they're all good.
No, not a favorite. No, that's fine. It's been fun talking. I mean, the episode with BJ Jacobs in the summer was such an honor to do right around the 4th of July, and just to see a guy who went through Rio Hondo and then he became, not just a military guy, but a Navy SEAL of all things. And, you talk to him now and you wouldn't know it. Not that he doesn't physically look like it. He's just such a kind guy. He's still BJ Jacobs, even though he's been one of America's most elite warriors.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's what I see. I just see BJ.
That's it.
That's what he looks like. That's what he acts like. So it's still him.
Yeah. They all bring up every time I talk with them. I talk about the coaches of the past, and you always come up and just fond memories. You said R&R in the military. So we used to have this R&R in like CIF where you couldn't do anything for a week or something practicing. And you used to call it, we were like, what's R&R, Mr. Dre? And you're like, oh, it's running and running. And you'd get us out running the wash or something like that. I don't know. CIF, you never know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, big game this Friday, Mr. Drain. Can't wait for it. Another tough test for us as Road Warriors. Rio Hondo is up against another Goliath. How many of these Goliaths can we take down, man?
I don't know, but they've all been different. It's all been a different challenge. First week was passing. Second week was running. I'm not sure exactly what it is this week, but I'm sure it's going to be something different. And I just hope we can, take the challenge on and run, face it. That's what you got to do. Whatever it is. Don't
run
walk after it,
run after
That's
it.
right.
I love it. Yes. Yeah. I'm sure you're going to have a big club meeting for the guys on Friday before the semifinal. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well,
right.
Actually, club meeting will be Thursday this week because of the travel.
Travel. Very nice. Well, Awesome stuff, Mr. Drain. Thanks for all you do. And again, for pushing us as hard as you did back in the day. And hopefully you continue to enjoy retirement, not having to make coaching decisions, being nice to referees. I mean, this is being a grandparent. I mean, this is a special time of your life.
Yeah. Nothing better than being a grandparent. And there's going to be another Ken Drain coming along soon. So better get ready for that.
Heard that. Yeah. Kenny Drain, right? Was it Ed's son? That's awesome.
That's right. Ed's son.
That is really cool. Well, thanks, Mr. Drain. We'll talk to you soon. I'll see you Friday out there, and should be another exciting week of Rio Hondo Prep Football. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. So
the one and only Mr. Ken Drain coming on the Charge to Keep podcast. The man that has led so many of us there in the 90s and 2000s and into a little bit of the 2010s as the head coach of Rio Hondo Prep and coach basketball Rio a very, very long time, even more than football, and got his first CIF championship there in 2012, a special year indeed. Actually, it was 2013, the 2012 football season with the calendar change there. But Mr. Ken Drain, a lot of great memories, fun times. Again, getting yelled at by him a time or two, but also getting that pat on the back every now and then was always nice too. So fun chatting with him, playing with his oldest son Devin was a privilege and an honor. Him and I still very good friends. Great chatting and sharing some memories of the old days, but mostly just being impressed by the current team and growing up and all this stuff. I can't believe it's been 21 years or whatever it's been, but Mr. Drain's been around a long time, and I hope the kids on this team really appreciate his messages, getting to hear from him, club meetings, once a week before games usually. And I hope they really cherish that, because for most of us, those are the memories we have. All of his messages, they've been consistent over the years, and we all remember it and carry it all with us in everything we do, whether it's our podcasts or a job or raising a family, whatever it is. I think most of us alumni out there hear Mr. Drain's voice always. And at least we think of him maybe when as motivation to kind of keep going, keep pushing, and to always do the right thing. So Mr. Ken Drain, a special man, and has touched a lot of lives there. So 5-time CIF champion, head coach as far as football goes, and as humble as they come, I must say, and just truly an honor chatting with him here on the podcast. Hopefully you guys really, really enjoyed that one. All right, before I let you guys go, and again, we may have another pregame show this week. I won't say another pregame show, but a special edition of the podcast, having someone on that I want to chat with and just chat about the game. My goal is to have this probably released Tuesday. There may be some content from practice or something like that on Wednesday night. I'm going to try to maybe get to team dinner on Thursday, maybe some stuff there. I don't want to change too much of the routine or anything, but it's not championship week yet, but it's the semifinals, and it's I don't know, it's just time for a little more content, I think, at this time of the year, and for everyone to stay focused, of course. But man, there's just some buildup. There's more buildup. These games are bigger and more important, and we are one of only a few teams left in the San Gabriel Valley standing, and one of only 4 teams remaining out of 16 who started the Division 9 bracket a few weeks ago. Let's look at our opponent real quick. We had a longer show here, so I don't want to, let me see, stop share. Oh, whoops, share screen. Basic background. There we go. Okay. What is all these ads on Max Preps? I tell you, maxpreps.com, of course, is where you can get all this information. Vista Del Lago Football, the Ravens. So get ready to say beat the Ravens. They are 9-3. They had a 7-3 regular season, obviously. Went 1-2 in league, the Sun Belt. We'll look at their schedule. Their last game was against Sonora last Thursday, as a matter of fact, out at La Habra High School. 21-7 victory. I watched some of that game already. Looked like it was 7-7 at half and rather competitive most of the game. So I won't go into too much of what they do and this and that. You guys can, I'm sure, look at some clips here if you want. They're kind of a good combo, a combo run, combo pass, I'll say. Shotgun formation, of course, and they run the ball a lot. They're very fast and physical on defense, and looks like they run kind of a 4-4 like a lot of teams do. But again, pretty balanced, I'll say. They make some explosive plays in the passing game. They throw it a little more, or a lot more, I should say, than Orange did, just as far as their run pass split, if you will. But let's look at a few of their scores here. They started the year with a 42-41 victory over Redlands East Valley. What a fun way to start the year there. They beat Valley View 34-6, Elsinore 19-17, and lost their first game at Great Oak 28-9. They then responded with a 63-6 win over Rialto. They beat La Quinta 35-0. Another loss to Paloma Valley 35-32 there in October. Then they beat Moreno Valley 41-18, Lakeside 49-0, lost to Riverside Poly 17-13, and then beat Marina in the playoffs 24-7, and of course Sonora last week at 21-7. So I looked at a lot of it looks to me that a lot of times they're winning. Most of their wins here, they're playing pretty good defense, not allowing a lot of points. Let me see. As far as their wins, other than the first game where they allowed 41 points, if you look, most of the time they're only giving up a couple touchdowns, 6 points, 17 points, 6 points, 0 points, 18 points, 13 points. So I think points might be at a premium in this game. Rio Hondo has scored 28 and 22 respectively in each of their first 2 playoff games. It looks like we're going to be up against a pretty tight defensive team here. And, last week it was Orange who gave us fits early in the game, kind of not letting us get going, keeping us down really in our running game until we kind of got that going in the second half. So I think we're probably up against a little better defense than we saw against Orange, a lot better defense than, of course, St. Margaret's. And to me, it seems like maybe a team that doesn't throw it as well as St. Margaret's did, but they really do mix the run and pass quite well. And so I think we're going to be up against it. If we can stop the run and kind of make them one-dimensional, hopefully that's a good thing for us. Our pass defense is probably weaker than our run defense. That's no knock on anybody. That's just the truth. We're not here to hurt feelings. We're just here to speak, truth, knowledge to truth or whatever. So, we got to prevent the deep ball. We did a decent job of that against Orange. Did give up a few big plays, but also got some sacks, got the big interception at the end of the game. So this game's going to be all about getting the ball, hopefully no huge mistakes, not too many negative plays, which Rio Hondo didn't have. There were times they didn't get many yards, maybe no gain or 1 yard gain or something, but not too many negative plays. Again, penalties pushing you back or tackles for loss. And so I think with Vista Del Lago, the Ravens, you're going to have to just, again, stay productive on offense. Again, it looks like they throw the ball a little bit more. Their top running back, Justin Concepcion, rushes for 66 yards a game. So nowhere near the century mark there. That tells me, of course, they throw it a lot more. Cameron Sims is their top receiver, who has 102 yards per game. He wears number 12, 6'1", 165 pounds. So got to keep an eye on him. Their top receiver, or at least yardage wise. As far as their running back goes, Justin Concepcion, the running back, also plays linebacker. He is number 24, a 5'11", 170-pound guy. Rather explosive, I'll say, but kind of not quite the running back we saw last week. And again, I think this team throws the ball a little bit more. And again, don't want to get into too many details this week, just kind of moving through it here. But the quarterback, I think, is 26 touchdown passes, Larry Joyce, on the season. So out of 12 games, that's well over 2 a game, 2.5 a game, maybe. So number 9 quarterback, smaller guy as far as, not too tall, but he moves around really well from some of the things I've seen on film, kind of buys time and is able to hit his receivers kind of in the scramble drill scenario. So Rio Hondo's going to have to be buttoned up, get to him, put him on the ground and play good run defense, much like they did the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. And defensively, got to find rhythm, keep the ball away from the Ravens, and hopefully bleed that clock, get a lead, and hold on to it. And just stay aggressive, Rio Hondo. Going into this one, do what you do and do it well. I've been encouraged by this team not backing away from adversity. There's no heads hung. They're just kind of like, all right, next play, let's go, let's fix this, let's get right. And as Mr. Drain mentioned in the interview, they're relentless. They just keep going, and he's proud of them. I'm proud of them. It's inspiring to see. And you know what, boys, we want to see one more post game in and out celebration, if we will. In and out in Moreno Valley. That sounds like a good time. Let's make that happen. I'm assuming in and out because that's kind of where everybody ends up. But man, not getting too far ahead of ourselves. It's a tough game. The Ravens will be ready to go. It's their home field. They're 9-3. That's a good football team that we're facing, and it's going to be another tough test. Rio needs to be laser focused and not make mistakes. And if there are mistakes made, it's how you respond. And hopefully Coach Rocky Seto has another great pregame speech like we heard on the post-game show over the weekend. But whatever happens Friday, man, it's going to be, I guarantee we're going to be proud of those guys. So I implore you again, this is a big reason this episode is getting out a little early this week, is I want anyone who can get to this game, man, do what you got to do to get there. I know the holidays are coming. Time off is tough to get and things, but Rio Hondo Prep's in the semifinals, man. And we desperately want to get to that next round in the finals the following week. But the biggest game of the year is here. It's the next one, right? And it's the current one. And that's just where we're at. We started this podcast back in June, building to this moment with the weekly episodes, kind of building up to the kickoff of the season. We've been to practices. The boys went on a summer trip. We've had alumni come on here and talk about the good old days. We've heard from coaches. We've heard from opposing teams. We've documented all of this throughout many, many months. And I'm just excited for the opportunity to get there Friday night and watch our boys play hard. There's nothing like cheering for your alma mater at Rio Hondo. And we are all family. We're all connected to this, and you can't help but get, again, emotional about it. And Mr. Drain has been adamant today about, how hard these guys are playing, how much passion they're playing with. It makes us all proud because it takes us back. And I'm telling you, you take that helmet off for the last time. Sometimes you look back and question, you're like, man, could I have done more? I would give anything to strap it up one more time. Give me one play, just one play where we got to stop the other team, or maybe we need to get in the end zone. Like, that feeling it never goes away. And these kids get to live that for another week and hopefully beyond that. So get to this game, get there early. I know everyone's got lives and other things going on, but if you attend this game, you will not regret it. I promise you that. You're going to see some young men out there who represent their families, represent their school, and represent you. No one else does that. My LA Rams don't represent me. I wear their gear. I'm not a part of them. They're not a part of me, even though some people will say otherwise. But Rio Hondo, man, here we go. Semifinals, Division 9. Hope to see you there. We'll have plenty of content throughout the week. Keep an eye on social media. And I would love to hear from you guys in the days leading up to the game. Send me your videos, how fired up you are. I'll post them. I want these boys to know they're supported. We hear you on Friday nights at the game, but let's make some noise before then, if you know what I mean. And to the alumni out there, bring it, man. If you're out of the area or thinking of coming in, don't hesitate. Get here. Let's do this. Go Rio Hondo Prep. Beat the Ravens. Be our gladiators. You've been that way all season. We've had some hiccups, some ups and downs. That's the beauty of football. It's going to happen. But we believe in you guys. And as the movie says in the movie Gladiator, win the crowd. And you don't have to win us. We got your back. We're there for you. Just play your hearts out. Wear that helmet proudly. Carry yourselves accordingly. And just play hard, man. Don't surrender. Don't give up. Battle. Just battle. March out of that locker room ready to go. Be our gladiators one more time. Go Rio.
show